there. Welcome to our cozy English corner again. I hope you've brought a cup of tea or popcorn.
Popcorn. That sounds suspiciously like a movie night.
Exactly. I've been thinking, we've never really talked about movies and TV shows here, have we?
Not in detail, no. Which is strange, considering how much both of us watch.
Don't expose me like that, George. But yes, movies are such a big part of how people learn English these days.
Absolutely. I'd even say that for many learners, Netflix is their new English teacher.
Oh, definitely. I mean, who hasn't learned a phrase or two from Friends?
That's true. I had a student once who said she learned how to flirt in English from friends.
That's the best kind of education. What phrase did she learn?
How you doing? Joey's line, of course.
Classic. You can't get more iconic than that.
But it's interesting, isn't it? Watching films isn't just entertainment. It's a window into culture.
Yes, and into how people actually speak. It's not like textbooks where everyone talks perfectly. In movies, people cut words and use slang and interrupt each other. And that's what makes it so real.
Exactly. It's how you learn real-life English rhythm. You can almost feel the language.
Yes. I always tell my students, if you want to sound natural, watch what native speakers watch.
And what do you watch, Miss Native Speaker Enthusiast?
Well, I'll admit, lately I've been binging The Crown. I'm obsessed with British accents.
You obsessed with accents? Shocking.
I know, I know. But seriously, it's fascinating. Every character speaks differently. It's like an accent masterclass.
True. You can hear received pronunciation, the Queen's speech, the working class tones, even bits of Scottish and Welsh.
And it's such a good way to train your ear. When you listen carefully, you start to notice intonation patterns, like how questions rise and statements fall.
Right. You get the melody of English, not just the words.
I always tell my students, if you want to sound natural, watch what native speakers watch.
And what do you watch, Miss Native Speaker Enthusiast?
Well, I'll admit, lately I've been binging The Crown. I'm obsessed with British accents.
You? Obsessed with accents? Shocking.
I know, I know. But seriously, it's fascinating. Every character speaks differently. It's like an accent masterclass.
True. You can hear received pronunciation, the Queen's speech, the working class tones, even bits of Scottish and Welsh.
And it's such a good way to train your ear. When you listen carefully, you start to notice intonation patterns, like how questions rise and statements fall.
Right. You get the melody of English, not just the words.
What about you, George? What have you been watching lately?
Hmm. I finally watched Succession. Brilliant writing, but also, wow, what a vocabulary challenge.
Oh, yes. That show is like a business English course wrapped in family drama.
Exactly. You get words like hostile takeover and proxy battle. Then suddenly someone says something hilarious and very informal. It's great for learning register, how formal and casual English mix.
That's so true. And you also learn tone. Like when someone says something polite, but really means the opposite.
Yes, tone is everything. You can say that's interesting in 50 different ways, depending on what you actually mean.
Oh, I know that one. That's interesting can mean I love it, I hate it, or please stop talking.
Exactly.
You know, movies teach so many layers of English: words, tone, body language.
Yeah, even silence. Sometimes a pause says more than words.
I love that. So true.
Think of how many movie scenes are powerful because of what's not said.
Like in Lost in Translation. So few words, but so much emotion.
Exactly.
Okay, serious question. What's your favorite movie of all time?
You can't ask that. That's like asking me to choose my favorite word.
Come on, everyone has one, or at least a top three.
Mm, okay, I'll play. My top three: The Shawshank Redemption, Before Sunrise, and The Matrix.
Oh, that's a great list. Very philosophical. I can see you in all three of those.
What about you?
Amelie, Pride and Prejudice, and The Devil Wears Prada.
So, quirky dreamer, hopeless romantic, and fashion drama queen.
Guilty as charged.
You know, what I love about those movies is how universal the language is. Even if you're not fluent, you can still feel the story.
Yes, movies teach emotion first, language second. You understand before you translate.
Exactly. That's why I always say, don't chase every word, chase the meaning.
That's beautiful, George. We should put that on the mug.
I'll start designing it.
By the way, do you remember the first movie you ever watched in English without subtitles?
Oh, yes. Forrest Gump. I understood maybe half, but I cried at the end anyway.
That movie teaches you so much more than vocabulary. It teaches kindness, patience, simplicity.
Yeah, and it's full of great lines. Life is like a box of chocolates. Everyone knows that one.
Exactly. I call that cultural English. Those phrases live outside the movie now. They've become part of everyday speech.
True, movies give you shared cultural references. When someone quotes a film, it connects you immediately.
Yes, like secret membership in a global club.
Speaking of clubs, have you seen how people now watch the same show worldwide? Game of Thrones, for example.
Oh, yes, everyone talks about it. I used to get spoilers from students before I even saw the episodes.
That's the downside of teaching international classes. Someone's always ahead on Netflix.
True, but it's amazing, isn't it? English connects people through stories.
Yeah, it's like the new lingua franca of entertainment.
Do you think watching movies can actually replace English lessons?
Mm, not replace, but definitely support. You can't build grammar from films, but you can build fluency and feeling.
Exactly. It's not about studying, it's about absorbing.
I call it osmosis English. You just soak it in.
That's so good. I'll use that in class.
Go ahead, I'll take royalties.
You know, it's funny. Sometimes my students quote movie lines perfectly, but when I ask a question, they freeze.
Yeah, that's because they memorize, not internalize. They know the script, not the flow.
True. Maybe that's what fluency really means. Not knowing what to say, but being comfortable while saying it.
Exactly. Fluency is comfort, not speed.
You know what I like most about modern shows? They're diverse. Different accents, faces, cultures.
Yeah, and that's great for learners. You realize there's not one correct English.
Exactly. English belongs to everyone now.
That's why I love shows like Bridgerton. Historical setting, but modern dialogue.
Oh, and all that elegant gossip. Perfect vocabulary for small talk.
And great expressions like spill the tea, meaning share the gossip.
Exactly. I love that phrase. Come on, spill the tea feels so British and so fun.
Yeah, but don't actually bring tea to class when you say it.
I might. Tea makes everything better, even grammar.
Spoken like a true English teacher.
You know, George, one thing I love about watching TV shows is how attached we get to the characters.
Oh, yes. After a few seasons, they almost feel like friends or enemies.
Exactly. I cried when a character died in This Is Us. It felt like losing someone I knew.
That show is emotionally dangerous. I think they should include tissues in the opening credits.
I agree. But it's also perfect for learning emotional vocabulary. All those words about family, loss, forgiveness.
Yeah, real life language, not textbook phrases, but the kind of words people actually use when things matter.
And that's what makes it powerful. When you learn English from real stories, you learn empathy too.
Speaking of empathy, have you noticed how actors influence how people speak English?
Oh, definitely. Everyone wanted a British accent after Sherlock.
And a cup of tea in their hand at all times.
Yes, or after Friends, people started using oh my God and whatever everywhere.
That's the cultural impact of media. Language spreads faster than ever.
Exactly. It's like English is a movie that never ends.
Beautiful way to put it.
You know what I've realized? Sometimes watching a show helps learners build context memory.
Right, your brain connects phrases with scenes. You remember how a character felt when they said something.
Yes, that emotional link makes vocabulary stick.
That's why I recommend rewatching episodes. Each time you notice new words or sounds.
I do that too, especially with The Office. The humor is so dry, you only get half of it the first time.
True. And the second time you're like, oh, I missed that joke completely.
Plus, Michael Scott is basically a grammar disaster, which makes it educational.
Exactly. You learn what not to say.
Like, I am Beyonce, always.
Classic line. But that's another benefit. You learn intonation, sarcasm, and tone.
Yes, learners often struggle with sarcasm, but sitcoms teach it naturally.
And tone is universal. You can feel humor or irony, even if you don't catch every word.
That's so true. Sometimes the rhythm of the voice tells the story better than the dialogue itself.
Nodding. Exactly. Like in Breaking Bad, so much tension in silence.
Ooh, yes, that show's a masterpiece. You don't just listen to English, you feel it.
You're reminding me of something. Remember the Queen's Gambit?
Oh, yes, I loved that show. I didn't think I could be so emotional about chess.
Same, but it's also a great study tool. Clear dialogue, beautiful pronunciation, and subtle expressions.
It's true. Beth, the main character, says very little, but her few words carry so much weight. That's less is more in action.
Good phrase and very cinematic.
Okay, quick quiz. British or American shows, which do you prefer?
Oh, you're setting me up for trouble, but British, probably. I like the dry humor and the slower pace.
I knew you'd say that.
Classic. You?
American. I like the energy, the optimism, the everything's possible vibe.
So you're rain and sarcasm, and I'm sunshine and coffee?
That's a great description. But you're right, there's a big cultural difference between the two.
Yeah, British shows are often about understatement, while American ones go for bigger emotions.
And that's wonderful for learners. They can hear both styles and choose what feels natural to them.
Exactly. Some students love copying British accents, others prefer American pronunciation.
And some mix them and sound like international spies.
Hello, mate. How you doing, bro?
That's exactly it. But honestly, I love that freedom. Language is flexible.
Totally. That's why I tell students sound natural, not native.
Yes. The goal isn't to erase your accent, but to communicate comfortably.
Speaking of accents, I think watching with your own accent in mind helps. You can compare, not imitate.
Exactly. Find balance. I tell my students copy rhythm, not identity.
That's deep. And true for life, not just language.
Sometimes I watch movies just for the language rhythm, like Notting Hill or The Holiday. The conversations are so fluid.
Oh, yes. I love that kind of dialogue. Natural, overlapping, emotional. It's real communication.
You can almost feel like you're there, sitting in that cafe, hearing the chatter.
Nodding. That's immersion. Even if you're not in London or New York, the screen becomes your classroom.